Heroes of Olympus, the Son of Neptune. So I've already done a couple of reviews as I, went along. Hold on. So over the past couple weeks, I'd already done some mini reviews on this book. As I read the book, I at the end of each week, I would give my thoughts on the book up to that point. And now that I'm doing my official review, I'm going to reiterate some of those major points I had made in previous streams before going on to my final thoughts at the end of the book. So let me just get my notes up real quick. I had them up a second ago. What the hell? Okay. So, first thing worth mentioning, I actually hadn't mentioned this in a previous video. I should have. But this book has a map, which, me personally, whenever a book, especially a fantasy book, comes with a map, that is all automatically automatic coolness points for me. It doesn't mean I'm automatically going to like the book, but it definitely increases the chances of me liking the book. So it had a map of Camp Jupiter, which honestly, for the most part, only helped out for the first third of the book and kind of towards the end a little bit. But as a map, freaking awesome. Not all books by Rick Riordan have maps, but this is one of the few that does. Also, The Last Olympian has a map as well. So whenever there's a map, I'm automatically happy. Oh, hey, Last Pharaoh, what's up? Haven't heard from you in forever. I'm doing books now, Anyway, so moving on. So Camp Jupiter is very militarized compared to Camp Happileth. So I'm not at all. So my wife, who's already read all of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which I have as well. She also read all of Heroes of Olympus. She tried to give me fair warning. She's like, hey, the Roman gods are like the Greek gods, but on steroids. They're so much more bad A, right? So, but even though she told me that, I was not yet prepared for how militarized the Roman camp was compared to the Camp Happileth, the Greek camp. On that though, even though the Roman gods are more badass versions of the Greek gods and whatnot, and their camp's more badass and everything like that, everything about the Roman half of the story is supposedly more badass. I will say this, one place where the Roman side is failing is with the Fauns, okay? Because the Fauns are basically the Roman counterparts to the satyrs, okay? So the Fauns are pretty freaking useless, in my opinion. At least with the satyrs over in Camp Half-Blood, they at least go find other. They go out and find other Half-Bloods and they bring them to the camp. They actually serve a purpose. The Fauns, they basically just stand around and ask for money and beg and be lazy and basically don't do anything. But yeah, Last Pharaoh, it has been a while. I haven't seen you in forever. I do books now. So I hope you find that interesting. If not, hey, I get it. But welcome to stick around, of course. Welcome, Basil. Hey, I'm new here. All right, moving on. So, where are the adults? Okay, so at the Roman camp, where the hell are all the grown-ups of this camp? Okay, because at least at the Greek camp there was Chiron and Mr. D, Dionysus, and all that. And I want to know, where the heck are the adults at the Roman camp? Okay, where's the Chiron of the camp? Now I'm not saying that the Roman camp needs a Chiron or specifically a centaur, because I know they don't really like centaurs. But I think the Roman camp needs some kind of an adult. You can't have just teenagers, these elder teenagers running everything, so where the heck are the adults? Last Pharaoh, I have your Pogue book. Well, I appreciate. I hope you. I don't know if you've read it yet. My third book. So I've actually been working on re-releasing my main fantasy series with a new publisher, and actually my last book in that series will be coming out soon. Hopefully, I'll have an official release date, but yeah. So the third book should be out. If I had to make a guess, April, May of next year, hopefully. But yeah, the first two books are already out, but third book's still pending publishing. Where can I buy or find your books? Amazon, mostly. I have links on my my profile page. There's a link tree. Show you where you can get mostly on Amazon. My first book is on paperback and Kindle right now. The second book is not on Kindle yet, but should be soon. And then the third book, it's going to be releasing sometime next year. But yeah, I'm also trying to. I would like to eventually set up a thing where I can. That person left. All right. Well, I'm not going to answer a question for someone who's not here. That's embarrassing. I was answering a question for you, and now everybody left. Whatever. It's fine. I don't care. I don't mind talking to myself. Okay. So you people watching this video, like after it's been uploaded or whatever, I'm talking to myself. I don't mind. That's what being a YouTuber is freaking talking to yourself most of the time. All right. Oh God. Oh, you're still here? Oh, my thing said 0. What the heck? Well, Basil, I'm glad you're still here, but yeah, my little person counter showed 0. So I'm like, all right, people just left. All right, whatever. I'll talk to myself. But yeah, so like I said, they're available on Amazon. But I'm trying to set up a thing where I can eventually like sell them like individually. I was on. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I was on TikTok for a while, but then it got banned, and then so I'm like, all right, I'll switch to YouTube. And then it got unbanned, and I'm like, well, I'm already on YouTube, so F it. Anyway, so I had a TikTok shop, or I tried to set up a TikTok shop, but they were being problematic with the whole setup process. But so I was trying to sell books that way, but it didn't really work out. And now that I'm on YouTube, I'm gonna have to figure out another way. But I'll worry about that once the third book is out. Because I figured it'd be easier to sell once the entire trilogy is out. People would rather have all 3 books be out already. So that's why I'm not promoting it so hardcore right now. I'm waiting until the third book comes out to talk about it more. But anyway, so the next point with this book that I wanted to bring up. So if you if you like Frank Zhang in this book, you might want to go ahead and just come back in about 3 minutes, or again, I keep on saying, people that are watching this video after the fact, after it's been uploaded. If you're watching this, you go ahead and skip ahead 3 minutes or so, because for the next like 3 minutes or so, I'm gonna be tearing Frank up because I don't like that guy. But hold on, seems really epic. So, oh, nice, thank you. Like I said, so the first book is on Kindle right now. The second one should be showing up on Kindle eventually. I don't know when. It just I check it once a week, and as soon as I see that it's on Kindle, I post about it and tell people. But it's just there's no telling what it's gonna. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what my publisher is doing, but they all should be on Kindle eventually. But for right now, it's just the first one. In fact, I think book 1's on Kindle Unlimited too. Don't quote me on that, but I think it is. Anyway, so if you like Frank Zhang, you might want to cover your ears because I'm about to. So Frank Zhang, I do not like this guy, okay, because he has feelings for Hazel. Now, my issue with that is he is 16. Hazel is 13. That is a 3-year difference, and no one else in this story seems to have an issue with it. Maybe I'm the weird one or something like that, but I mentioned it to my wife. I'm like, hey, is a 16-year-old being interested in a 13-year-old weird? And she's like, yeah, absolutely it is. I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. Anyway, so Frank likes Hazel, 3-year difference. To kind of put it into perspective, that would be like a sophomore in high school being interested in an 8th grader. Okay, it's just weird. But furthermore, now if anyone's like, okay, well, maybe Frank likes Hazel in sort of a sisterly kind of way, and if that was the case, I'd be okay with that. But here's the thing: I distinctly remember a scene in the Son of Neptune during the War Games where Hazel is on Hannibal the Elephant, okay, riding into battle or whatever, and Frank looks up to her, and he thinks to himself, and I quote, "Gods, she's beautiful." That is not something you say about somebody you see as a sister. So clearly, Also, furthermore, at one point, Percy Jackson, he does some heroic. He's freaking Percy, right? But Hazel gives Percy a kiss on the cheek for something he did, and Rick Riordan made it very clear that this was a in the sisterly sense, okay, that like a little sister kissing her big brother on the cheek, which I have no problems with, okay. But after that happened, Frank saw his crush kiss Percy, and he said, "Oh, what do I get a kiss now? Like, what? And okay, so I don't know what the heck just happened there, but I think we're back. Sorry if anyone got kicked off, because right now it's showing me 0 people watching, but it's fine. Okay, hold on. All right. Basil, best of luck, man. You're doing well. I hope to see you on the big stage or a con panel. I wouldn't mind doing being on a con panel or something like that. So a couple of years ago, I actually met. So I went to GalaxyCon in Des Moines. I live in middle of nowhere, Iowa. But I went to GalaxyCon in Des Moines, and I actually got to meet Casper Van Dien. He Starship Troopers, played Johnny Rico. But anyway, there was a person in the market area selling books, selling their own like fantasy books, their own fantasy series, and they had a lot more than I did. They had like 7 or 8 books, but I was kind of like, hey, maybe one of these days, I can go to GalaxyCon and be like them, but we'll see. So, all right, yeah, I kind of tore Frank apart there, but I do have a couple of I have 2 saving graces for him. I mean, I don't really like him, but 2 good things I have to say about him though is, one, his weapon's kind of cool, his spear. Now, I don't want to. I try my hardest with these reviews to not spoil anything, so I'm not gonna say what's special about his weapon, his spear. You'll just have to read it and find out. Now, for those of you that have read The Son of Neptune, you probably should know what his spear does and why it's cool, and character Gray. Maybe that'll help jog your memory. So there's that, and also when battling, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Thanatos, the god of death. Frank was fully committed, was fully ready to sacrificing himself. Okay, like he was certain that when he was battling Thanatos, or that when he was trying to battle Thanatos, oh my god, what the heck am I saying? When he was trying to free Thanatos was all chained up, battle him. What the hell was I saying? Sorry about that. When he was trying to free Thanatos, he was certain that he was going to die in the process. So it wasn't maybe or probably, like he was certain it was going to happen. And he was willing to sacrifice himself anyway, so I got to give him props for that. But despite all that, Frank is still my least favorite character from all the Rick Riordan books I've read so far, okay? My least favorite character used to be Clarice from Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And then it got switched to Drew, who's the cabin leader of the Aphrodite cabin. And now it's Frank. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, okay, well, what about, what is it, Octavius, the horror guy? A lot of people don't like him, and don't get me wrong, I don't like him either, but at least he's not following along on the adventures or whatever. Frank, he's a bigger part of the story, so you have to be reminded him of all the time. Like, I completely forgot about Octavius until towards the end of the book when they return to the camp. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy. I freaking hate that guy too, but I still hate Frank more. Oh, so speaking of Thanatos, again, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I love that guy. He's not my favorite. Well, he might be my favorite Roman god. I don't know, because my favorite Greek god is Hephaestus. But so Thanatos, he's like definitely in the top 3 of the gods that I like, because he takes his job super serious, but at the same time he is very nonchalant about it. Okay, I love it because so like he does his job to the T. Okay, he follows orders without question. He does what he's told, but at the same time he seems to not care about his job one way or the other. You know, he's basically that guy who shows up to work, he clocks in, he does his work, and he goes home. Okay, so I love that. He's like, he does his job to the T, but he also doesn't care about the job one way or the other. You know, so I freaking love it. He's serious but nonchalant about his job. Okay. Oh, so now, so I've reiterated all the main points or the previous points I'd made in my other streams. So now here are my new thoughts as I came towards the end of the book. Okay. So 1, Tyson, my man, freaking love that guy. Okay. Hands down favorite Rick writing character, Tyson, is back. Okay. Love that. Excuse me, hold on. Okay. And he seems to be a little bit sweet on the harpy Ella. Now, part of me wants to see that relationship kind of flourish a bit more. Like I kind of like I feel Tyson kind of deserves, you know, a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you know, whatever, you know. But he deserves a special somebody. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, man, a Cyclops and a Harpy, they would make some ugly babies. So I want to see their relationship flourish, but at the same time, kind of not. You know what I mean? You know, I'm just happy Tyson's back. And now that I'm moving on to Mark of Athena next, which I'll talk more about in a minute, I hope he continues to play another more of a role in that. Okay. Final point of the book. I got more things to say after this. Oh, actually, so skipping ahead here. All right, so something I was thinking about is, so for those of you who don't know the whole plot of the story, the story is, so the doors of death have been opened, and Percy and Frank and Hazel, they need to close them and free Death and whatever. Anyway, so the doors of death are open. Okay. So anyone who dies, monster or otherwise, are able to come back to life like within seconds or minutes later. You know, so anytime like they would go and kill a monster, you know, the monster would come back and they'd have to fight it all over again, and it's, you know, a losing battle. But I started to wonder, does this apply to mortals too? Because of course mortals go to the underworld and whatnot. So I'm kind of like, you know, we're at some point, was there like a group of people like sitting in their living room or something like that, watching TV or whatever, and all of a sudden their dead grandmother just walks in like, hey kids, I'm back alive. You know, I don't know. I just want to know, do mortals come back too? And how are the mortals handling that? Seeing grandma and whatever come back to life all of a sudden. I want to know. Probably won't ever know the answer to that, but it was just something I was thinking about. Like, what about the mortals? Are they coming back too, or is it just the monsters and the demigods? Furthermore, speaking of people coming back to life, Gwen, I think she was a centurion, whatever she was. Gwen, the demigod, she gets killed. Okay, she gets. I try not to spoil anything. I don't think this is so much of a spoiler. If it is, I apologize. But it happens early enough in the book, so if you read the book, you'll find out about it soon enough anyway. So Gwen gets killed, and then she's brought back to life because, again, the doors of death are open. So, you know, nobody stays dead for very long. But anyway, when she was still dead, because she was only dead for like 5 minutes maybe. But back when she was still dead, Octavian, I believe it was, it's like, oh, this... she wasn't killed, she was murdered. This was intentional. But I'm like, it's war games. Wouldn't every kill be intentional? But anyway, she's like, there's going to be an investigation. We need to have an investigation on who killed her, okay? And then she got brought back and no one seemed to care anymore. And I mentioned in my very first live stream for this book that this book was going to end with that investigation never being mentioned again. Now the series is going to continue on, maybe the investigation will be mentioned again, but it probably isn't. Maybe because she's back to life, nobody cares anymore. But I think, there should still be an investigation because it had me thinking, I'm like, oh, somebody killed her on purpose. There was a reason this was written in. So I'm like, is there like a rogue demigod or something like that, or did a monster sneak in? I figured there was a reason for this, and now they're probably just gonna brush over that and never mention it again. So I want to know what the heck happened to her investigation. I had a feeling it was never going to be mentioned again, but I still want to know what the hell happened. Okay. Anyway, see, I think. Okay. Now a couple of just final notes. So, at the end of everything, in my opinion, so far, hold on. Grab the camera for a Lamar Jackson edit. Okay. Not sure what. I don't know what you mean by that. I apologize. So, as far as Heroes of Olympus goes, I've only read, The Lost Hero and The Son of Neptune. I'm going to read the other books as well. But in my opinion, of those two so far, this Lost Hero is my favorite. Now, hear me out, because I know a lot of people don't like The Lost Hero because Percy's not in it, and I get that. I'm with you on that. Just hear me out, though, why I like The Lost Hero slightly more than The Son of Neptune. And the reason is Leo. That book has Leo. I freaking love Leo. Leo is awesome, okay? Especially his, Batman utility belt, that it can pull out any basic tool out of his belt, and as well as freaking mints for whatever reason. Also, he's the group chef. He's basically, and he's the mechanic. He's the pilot. He's the glue that holds the entire team together for the Lost Hero. So Leo is the reason why I like the Lost Hero more than Son of Neptune. And also, the Lost Hero didn't have Frank. Son of Neptune does. Freaking hate Frank. I'm sorry. I bet I do. Anyway, so those are the ends of my thoughts on that. Now, I do have a couple more things to say before I end this stream, though. So I put a poll on my channel saying, what should I read next? The Mark of Athena or Tales of Kenobi, which I should have grabbed to show that, but doesn't matter. So I am not at all surprised that the Mark of Athena won. Okay. I just wasn't expected to be by that much of a landslide. By the looks of it, 2 people voted for Tales of Kenobi. But so I will be reading Mark of Athena next, which is, of course, the sequel to The Son of Neptune. And as you can see, I've actually already started it. I'm on page 20. I just started it today. 21. I'm on page 21. And I'm already loving it. I've already made some notes on things I'm going to mention. I'm not mentioning them in this stream. That will be for my next stream on Friday. But I'm already liking the book. I'm already loving it. One thing I happened to notice, though. So on this cover here, very clearly, that is probably Percy, right? And that is Jason. That is Blackjack, and that is probably what's the horse's name? Arian or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize. But Hazel's horse. That's probably, it runs fast as shit. That's probably what that is, regardless of who the horses are. That's clearly Percy. That's clearly Jason. Why are they charging at each other? Is this just, did they do that just to have a cool looking cover, or are they gonna do battle? I don't know. I know that Roman gods and Greek gods, or the demigods, the Romans and the Greeks didn't really get along in past times, but I had a feeling that this book was going to be about solving all that. So are Percy and Jason going to fight? I mean, don't get me wrong, that'd be cool to read, but I'd also be kind of confused because I thought they were putting all that behind them. I don't know. So but yeah, oh, and one more thing. With this book being almost 600 pages, oh, hold on, I went too far because it's 585 or something like that. I usually try to finish a book in a month, okay? And I'm starting to do these monthly live streams or monthly, these weekly live streams every Friday talking about, my thoughts on whatever book I'm reading at the time where I'm at that point. And then after 4 streams, being done with it and moving on to something else. This is honestly probably going to be a 5-week project, okay? And I know that there's people out there who are like, oh, I could read that in a day. And you know what? I'm sure there are people like that. Actually, my wife, who's an even bigger bibliophile than I am, book nerd, she claims that when, what was it? The last Harry Potter book. Oh, why can I not think of it? Deathly Hallows. When the Deathly Hallows came out, and this book was over 1,000 pages long. She claimed that she read the entire book in 24 hours. And I'm sure people could read this in 24 hours. Not me. This is probably going to be at least a month, if not like 5 weeks. But either way, you'll be getting weekly updates on my thoughts of it as I go along. But so that's basically it. That ends this stream. So I'm done with Son of Neptune, and we'll be moving on to Mark of Athena. So if anyone's got anything else they want to say real quick, now's the time. Otherwise, I'll just go ahead and end this stream. Nope. Okay. Anyway, thank you for watching.